Okay. I guess I'm on now. I can't really hear anything coming through this mic, but I guess it's just recording straight into the camera. Hi, everyone. My name is Unrested, also known as Scott Ackerman. That's my real name. Unrested is kind of my nickname, alias, ID, or handle that I would use regularly on YouTube. I have been contacted by Kaisha Kadan Limited, and they have asked me to go ahead and make a documentary on my jumonogatari ritual. For those of you who don't know, the jumonogatari ritual is one in which you tell 10 ghost stories, urban legends, or creepypastas, and light 10 candles when you do it. And when you finish a story, you blow out a candle. After every single candle has been blown out, that last 10th candle will release a ghost into the mortal world. The bridge, the link, the connection between the world of spirits and the world of mortals will be opened, according to Japanese mythology, that is. I myself have done quite a bit of research on all different types of ghosts, urban legends, creepypastas, the unknown, the strange, the mysterious, and I've never experienced anything. I've never met a ghost. I've never seen a spirit. I've never met an alien. I've never met anything beyond this very mortal coil that I live in each day. So the main reason, my goal, my motivation, why I'm doing this is because I want to see a ghost for myself for the first time ever. I'm thinking if I complete this and I make it all the way through, the ritual, if it goes as follows, will allow me to finally meet face to face with the ghost, and hopefully that's something that I can record for you. And that's why this Kaidan Kaisha Limited Company is here today. I am the first gaijin ever in Japan to attempt this ritual. Although it is ill-advised by Buddhist monks and Shinto priests everywhere. I myself have no fear because, like I said, I've never met, seen, or actually peered upon anything supernatural, and so I really don't have any fear going into this. I'm not really too worried, and to be quite honest, 100%, I really don't think anything's gonna happen. Because so far nothing in my life has ever happened that has allowed me to see anything supernatural. Anyway, that's what I'm here for today, and I'm gonna start recording from day 1, story 1, candle 1. We're going to tell a story each day, record it, blow out a candle, and hopefully go through all 10. According to the ancient ritual, it actually comes from a ritual called the Otogari ritual, in which samurais used to gather around in a cave, light candles, and try to spook each other out with old nursery rhymes that apparently were quite spooky. Similar to Grimm's fairy tales, which, if you know their original ones, are quite horrifying and quite dark. The first group of samurais that ever tried this were attacked by a giant spider monster, which eventually turned out to just be the shadow of a spider illuminated by a candle. The only samurai that was strong enough to stay behind struck out at it, and once the candle blew out, he realized it was nothing more than a tiny creepy crawler. I imagine that's what's going to happen with my own experience. I will go through everything and find out there's little to nothing at the end of this ritual. I am also going to go ahead and let you know that if you light the 10 candles, you don't have to have them all lit in one day and blown out all in one day. Even the samurais themselves never got through all 10 stories in one day. As long as you light the same number of candles as you started with the day before, the ritual is supposed to go as follows. And every candle that finishes a story is allowed to be blown out. That next day you light the same number of candles as what you started with, and so on until you get down to candle number 10. You light it, you blow it out, and apparently that opens up the portal to the spirit world. Oh my god! Okay, so before I start this whole thing, Kaidan Kaisha has actually sent me an email today with a list of questions that they want me to go ahead and start this video off with so that you, the viewer, can become familiar with me, the storyteller. So I'm just going to go ahead and read the questions and answer them on the spot with whatever I come up with. So number one says, who is Unrested? Well, who am I? My real name is Scott Ackerman. I grew up in Pennsylvania, moved to Florida, where for a very short time I was an art teacher until the state took away our money for any kind of arts, and I was out of a job. Looking to still continue to teach, I found myself looking everywhere, including Japan, where it's very easy to teach English. Once I traveled over here, I realized that my love for urban legends and creepypastas could be further expanded because this place is the origin of those things. So long before America had ever been telling any sort of urban legends, creepypastas, or ghost stories, Japan had been doing it for thousands of years, literally thousands. So this is what has kept me here. This is what has kept my passion alive. It's also been a great challenge for me and kind of a big ego booster because I'm somebody who grew up with some learning disabilities. I had ADD and dyslexia, and I don't think many people saw me going very far beyond my own state, let alone moving to an entire another country to pick up a career. So for me, being here and pursuing the career of my dreams has been a huge ego booster. A great piece of my self-confidence has been built up because of this, and it's really kind of made me who I am today. Next question says, why did you choose to come to Japan? Well, like I said, Japan is the origin country of creepypastas and urban legends long before you started to see ghost tales being woven into modern technology. Japan was already doing stuff like that with things such as Kuchisake Onna, which is the split-mouthed woman, a surgery gone horribly wrong where a woman's face is split wide open and she has a disgustingly cruel smile that she then inflicts upon other people, and that was started in Edo era. Any of you who know a little bit about Japanese history know that was quite a long time ago. That was one of the very first urban legends, quote unquote, in Japanese called a Toshi Densetsu. Nonetheless, it started here in Japan, and from there many more spawned. Hence, I have stayed here and made it my main place for research and my main source of information for any and all creepypastas and urban legends. Next says, what kind of stories do you tell and what are the origins of those stories? Please explain what they are. What is a creepypasta? Well, that's a very good question. I think actually many of you may not know the etymological source of the word creepypasta. So let me go ahead and explain that to you. When computers with emails first started up, people used to send each other very annoying emails that were copied stories that they thought were funny or humorous. Those were called copy post stories. People would copy them and then post them to their email and send them. A slang for that eventually popped up called copy pasta stories. From there, very creepy versions of those stories started to pop up and become circulated within emails. Those became creepy pasta. Now, I myself personally call what I tell J-pasta or Japanese creepy pasta. What do we got next? How will you be telling and or showing us the stories in this recorded documentary? Well, I will actually be using multiple sources in which to tell you or relay you the experiences, stories, and some of the information and research material I have received over time. I have a little bit of everything to show you. Some of these I will just be standing here telling you a simple tale of something I or a friend experienced. The other way I may be telling you this is through a sound file or a video file, which I also get sent quite a bit. And the main reason I am going through each one of these is to build up to my very favorite and all-time creepypasta known as Smudgemouth. I don't want to get too deep into the origin story of Smudgemouth as of yet, because I will be giving away my final 10th story if I do. But let me just tell you a little bit of background about what I'm building up to. Smudgemouth is the name of a monk who started a puppet show here in Japan. His original name was Junji Inagawa. This monk started that show to teach children Confucian lessons about Buddhism and Shinto morals. And each year he would make new dolls and new puppets and become more and more popular. And unfortunately, what you might not know is that just like any other business, temples and shrines try to make money from people who come to them, just like any church in America would as well. They are pretty much non-profit businesses that are really profit businesses, let's be honest. And Junji's business was doing quite well because children and parents loved his puppet and doll shows. Now we're talking Edo era Japan. This was quite a long time ago when TV could not trump any of these forms of entertainment. He did quite a good job at using these puppets to go ahead and tell his tales, and that's where our story will start when I get to number 10. I don't want to go any further than that, but I want you to know about the history of that one thing because it is totally original to Japan. Junji Inagawa, very Japanese name of course, totally original to Japan, one of the creepiest creepypastas you will ever hear, and all my stories will be building up to that one final one. So here is the little candelabra that I will be lighting with a little skull on it for all sorts of atmosphere. I will be lighting each one of these. I've got 3 more candles to put on. As you see, I've already got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I need to add 3 more, and we will have 10 for a total of 10 stories to tell you for utter and complete creepiness. Should I get started lighting some of them for you? We're going to light each of them all for each day just to, add a little more atmosphere to the room. Go ahead and get this started. Hopefully I won't burn myself as I'm doing this. I almost just did it right there. You know what? I'm going to use another candle. Use candle number 8 here to go ahead and light the rest. Because if I just keep trying to use the lighter, I'm going to end up burning myself. I know I will. I am a retard with fire. There we go. And just drip some wax on you here. Stick the candle on. Need just 2 more. There we go. Doing pretty good there. What do you think? Pretty lucky so far. Oh my gosh, am I gonna get this in one try? Ah! Fucking drop the 10th candle. Alright, let's try that again. There we go. Oh, one blew out. Son of a bitch. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna light this. I'm gonna try and light this without burning myself. Got it. And almost burnt my face that time. 10 candles, motherfucker. There we go. 10 candles. Ready for 10 tales to be told. Sit back, relax, grab some popcorn, make yourself ready. Hope you enjoy this jumonogatari. So for one of my very first tales, I'd like to tell you a very, very simple one, and this is just a normal street urban legend. Now, there are many, many urban legends concerning things that are corporeal. They're not actually ghosts. They actually have a physical form to them. They are real people. One I had already spoken about was Kuchisake Onna. If you don't already know about her, she was a woman who was horribly disfigured in a surgical procedure gone horribly wrong. There's other stories that surround how her face was mutilated, and they include a jealous boyfriend cutting her face after he found out she cheated, or a lab accident gone horribly wrong where acid spilled on her face. Now, the woman in mention, although the source of her actual scarring relies on multiple tales, is a woman who had her face physically mutilated to the point where each part of her face was cut open to her ears. From the beginning of her mouth to her ears, all the teeth exposed, all the different elements of her jaw exposed. And like many people do in Japan, she would wear a medical mask in order to cover that up. Now, here in Japan, that's very normal. If you have some sort of communicable disease, you want to avoid a cold, or you're dealing with a sore throat or a cough, you wear one of these medical masks daily. You don't have to be a doctor to do it. And that's what she would do to hide her horrible disfigurement. Of course, when she would see another beautiful woman that she would be jealous of, she would go up to that woman and ask, "Do you think I am beautiful?" And if they said yes, she would pull down the mask and say, "How about now?" with her big gaping maw, and then tear their face open the same as hers and make them a horrible disfigured version of themselves. But if you said no, or you said maybe, it would confuse her. Or you could throw candy at her and distract her. And apparently that's the way that you can get out of this sort of ritual pasta in which to avoid her. Now, what I'm going to tell you today is a different story. This is one that's less known, from a forum just called Occulto, which is an occult website for all sorts of strange and unknown happenings here in Japan that people describe that has happened to them. I went and investigated the street in which this happened on. I myself found nothing, but here is the story of what happened. It is a simple story just called Directions. Could you tell me how to get to my friend's apartment? I turned around and saw a tall woman standing there. Her clothes were in tatters. Her legs were abnormally thin. Judging by the fact that she was swaying ever so slightly, I got the impression that she was having trouble balancing herself. Even though I assumed she was talking to me, she was looking in a completely different direction. Ichi, Jukyu Yon, Kasugatani apartment, Nihaku Ichi. That's 1194 Kasugatani apartment 201. My breath caught in my throat. That was where I lived, right down to the apartment number. No, I'm sorry, I don't know where that is. I wanted to do nothing. I wanted to run from this woman and make it very clear with my tone of voice when I answered her that I was creeped out. In return, she bowed in such a way that I thought the top half of her body might break off at the pelvis. She then managed to return herself to standing and continued to walk unsteadily down the road. What the fuck, I thought. I took a long detour back to my apartment, just in case she tried following me. When I got to the door, I turned the knob to make sure everything was still locked up. The door didn't open, and I sighed with a relief. I unlocked it and I went inside. I closed the door and locked it back up, and swore that I wasn't answering the door for the rest of the night.
Could you tell me how to get to my friend's apartment? I heard a woman's voice come somewhere within the pitch blackness of my apartment.
Where are you going?
You'll never.
There we go, story number 1 finished. Now, what you're probably wondering about is if this is Unrested in his off hours, in his time off, his hobby time. And there isn't really any time for that here in Japan. If you really want to get yourself into Japanese society, you really want to assimilate yourself, and you really want to fit in here in Japan, you start to realize that your work and what you pursue not only becomes a passion, but a full-time 12-hour to 16-hour-a-day career. And that's because if you want to be competitive or up at the top of what you do, you have to do it around the clock. You have to constantly be looking for how to better not just you, but your practice, your craft, your art as well. And that's why this is something that I chose to pursue as a career, because it's something I'm very passionate about and something that I do look at, research, and delve into 12 hours a day at least. And that's why I'm here right now at my studio. This is when work has finished for the day. I'm still here scanning the web for more stories, more videos, more creepypastas, more urban legends, toshiden setsu, and all sorts of creepiness from Japan. My job never stops. And Unrested, well, the name fits me because I never rest. What we've got here is a little website that I use quite a bit. It's called Saya in Underworld, and Saya in Underworld is a great little website because not only is she indigenous to Japan and a Japanese national, but she also is kind enough and talented enough to translate a lot of creepypasta and urban legends from Japan really quite well, probably better than almost 90% of Japanese people who can speak English. And she's done an incredible job on her website, and she's nice enough that she actually lets me use quite a few of her stories on my own show, Osoroshi Saturday. Hence, I want to give her a little bit of props here by including one of her stories in the jumonogatari. And it concerns a dream that a user had been having night after night consecutively that really creeped him out and turned out to be a bit foreboding. So I'm going to go ahead and read that right now. Let's find out what happened. So what I'm about to read you is one of the creepiest dreams someone has ever sent in to Saya in Underworld here. And it is a dream that is called the 10-Day Dream. And it has a little bit of a warning at the beginning. If you hear this story, you might end up having the same dream within 3 days. This story is not known to be cursed, but I put it under the curse category just as an extra precaution, and that is really something I feel is good to do whether you believe in the supernatural or not. You should always be careful with any of these type of rituals. Hence, I'm following the jumonogatari ritual to a Q. I don't think you should really mess with the order or way in which these rituals are done. You should have respect for them no matter what. So, this is the 10-Day Dream, and it goes in order by days, starting with the first day on out to the 10th, and changes a little bit each day. And I just want you to listen along, and I will show you some imagery of what you might see while having this dream. And apparently this dream has been reported as being had by multiple Japanese people and reported on the forum known as Nichan. The first day, you will dream that you are sleeping in your room. Then you will notice a girl peeping through the window. The first rule, you must let the girl in. The second day, the girl is inside your room. She is looking downward at you, but you cannot see her face because of her long hair. She is muttering something. After a while, you realize she is saying, "Please, please. Now, the hair covering the face is a common ghost aspect here in Japan of onryo or yurei, which are usually vengeful woman ghosts, but in this category it is not a vengeful woman ghost. It is just a ghost or a woman type figure that is female in its characteristics. Let me continue. The second rule is let her come into the bed and lie down next to her. The third day, you and the girl are lying side by side. You are now able to see the girl's face. Her face is horribly burnt. The third rule, do not cry out when you see her face. The fourth day, you get out of bed. The girl says, let's go to the park. The fourth rule, take the girl to the nearest park without saying a word. So what they're saying is usually the girl will be laying in the bed that you normally use in real life, and the area of Japan that you will be in is the normal area that you're normally in your same apartment, in everything prefecture. You should know a map of the area, or at least be familiar with what's around your apartment or house or wherever you live, and you want to take the girl to the nearest koen or park, which is the English translation of koen. The fifth day, you arrive at the park. You'll notice someone is pushing a stroller. You look closely and notice the mother is a cat and the baby is a dog. Rule number 5, you must murder them. The sixth day, while you are out playing with the girl in the park, you will see an airship about to take off. The sixth rule, make sure you get on the airship in time. So the airship has kind of a ladder, or what I've heard as a plank or a platform or ramp, and apparently it's constantly pulling up quite quickly and you need to get on it in time. Seventh day, the airship is full of people who have heard this story just like you. The seventh rule, find a seat for yourself at any cost. So this is what I'm talking about with multiple people in Japan have had this dream, and apparently they all see each other on this airship. The eighth day, after some time, red roses and black roses begin raining down upon you. The eighth rule, throw out only the black roses from the airship. The ninth day, the airship takes you back to the park. The ninth rule, go home with the girl and lie back down in your bed once again. The 10th day, you will not know what will happen on the 10th day unless you have observed all the rules in the previous days. And you should tell this story to someone you know while you are awake. Otherwise, you will go back to the first day and dream this dream forever. So, that's why I'm telling you this story right now, so that I myself am not cursed by it. Go ahead and give this story to another person. Make sure you memorize it and tell them the rules correctly. Don't screw with the rules. Number 1 rule of all ritual pastas. The dream that I had, I looked up later and found out that it too was a dream that is constantly repeated in Japan, and that multiple people have talked about it. And apparently it even has a name known as Fallen Dai Village. Have you ever seen Fallen Dai Village? This type of dream is called a collective dream, and many people dream it at some point in their lives. That's why I myself have had this dream. It's apparently a collective dream. It did leave me with a very quickly beating heart when I awoke, and it was pretty terrifying. Let me give you a little read of the wiki that's been written about it. Most people forget about the contents of this dream immediately after they wake up. I did not, but there are still numerous people who report the dream, and it has been collected all over Japan. The dream begins with a scene in a farmer's village. Now in Japan, it tends to be a rice farmer. The sun is setting, and there are blue and purple dead bodies lying around everywhere. Now, the dead bodies that I saw in the dream that I had were from World War II. It seemed as though they were wearing peasants' clothes from World War II, a lot of kimonos, a lot of yukatas, and a lot of older clothes from that era. After a while, a few young girls in a kimono come up to you and explain, "This is Fallen Dai Village." As soon as they finish telling you, one of the girls trips over one of the bodies and falls. As the girl screams, her body immediately turns blue-purple and stops moving. What I saw is, as the girl was screaming, her scream was suddenly cut off, and she immediately went from normal flesh color to almost black and white in my dream. There are several variations as to what happens next. Some people have reported that they got chased by the girls and ran around the village like crazy, and some say they were forced to play on stilts, while others say nothing particular happened and they just woke up. Now that was me, lucky. I just woke up. Somehow, there are no accounts of the dream from someone who actually tripped and fell in the dream, usually because they do not wake up. So apparently people have died from having this dream, which I'm not really sure how you research the people who died from having it, if they died in the middle of the dream and never woke up to tell you what happened. But who knows, you know? Take all these stories with a grain of salt, but respect them the same. Story 2, everybody. Done. Alright, this little pasta here is called A Journey of the Spirit. Now, I really like this one because it's kind of a cursed pasta. It's a cursed urban legend. It's a cursed scary story that could possibly ruin your whole life. It even starts out with, please only read this once you have properly prepared yourself mentally and emotionally. You have at least 4 people to complete this ritual explained here. Once you and the others have gathered, sit in a circle and join hands with the people next to you. Everybody must close their eyes and count quietly to themselves up to 10. Make sure that it takes 10 seconds to do this. You must absolutely keep your eyes closed while doing this. Once you finish counting to 10, your body will naturally collapse. Only your spirit will go on this journey. Everything will be black except for a well-lit road that leads straight out in front of you. You and the others in your group will be standing on this road. Somebody will become the leader of your group. Whoever becomes the leader must follow these directions exactly and complete them on their own. If they fail to do so, you may not be able to return to this world. Walk along the path in front of you. Eventually you will encounter a woman in a white, long gown with black hair. She will be holding a box. Take it with only your left hand. Once this task is completed, you will come upon a fork in the road. One sign will be lined with bamboo grove, the other side will lead down stone steps. Follow the path that goes through the bamboo. Remember, if you take the wrong path, you will not return home. After walking down this bamboo path, you will find a hut. Whoever gets to the door first must open it with their left hand only. Everybody in your group will follow behind them, and the last person inside must close the door with their right hand only. Again, do not forget these rules. In the middle of the room will be a box. Open it with your right hand. An amputated pinky finger will be inside. This finger belongs to a man named Kichibi. Take the finger out with your right hand. Open the box you received from the woman earlier. Make sure to open it with your left hand. Place the finger inside the box with your right hand, and then close the box with your right hand and leave the hut. When you leave the hut, everything will be just as it was when you entered. When you continue walking, you will notice a crunching sound, as if footsteps are following you and your group. They will get closer, and closer, and closer, until you finally see the person. A battle-wounded soldier will be fleeing.
If you walk on, the soldier will walk in the same manner. If you try to move out of their way, they won't run into you, but they will move in the same direction. There will be no way for you to avoid him. Continue walking straight. The two of you will slowly get closer and closer until at the very last moment, he passes straight through you. Once he passes by you, you will hear the sound of one of your friends crying, as if the soldier had cut them down. You must not look back to check on your friend. You must not call out their name either. Continue onwards. You will meet an old man. Give that old man the finger in the box. He will thank you for your help, and then he will disappear. As soon as he is gone, you and your friends will wake up right where you collapsed. Kitchibi will follow you out of this world. When you do this ritual, you must make sure to turn off the cell phones because Kitchibi will try to contact you while you are doing the ritual to mess you up. And you do not want that. If you don't believe me, that's fine. But don't blame me when you find yourself in danger. Nice, I like it. It's a creepy tale, and let me tell you, I've heard of some pretty creepy stuff happening when people have tried this.
One of the very first jobs I ever got in this little career path that I've taken via email sent to me by a client who wanted me to investigate a place called Nara Dreamland. And that is an abandoned amusement park, abandoned 20 to 30 years ago, left to become decrepit and dilapidated and very, very spooky. I have footage to show you as I read the story. This was this person's supernatural experience that they had while they were there. This happened earlier this year at an abandoned amusement park not far from my hometown. The park closed 20 to 30 years ago, and I had been hearing rumors that homeless people were gathering there. So my little brother, my friend, and I agreed to go check it out. To get to the park, you need to go up a mountain road, and my friend drove us. It was the middle of the summer, and it was dreadfully hot, so we all had the windows of the car open. Around the time that we started going up the mountain, I started noticing a lot of gnats and flies begin to come into the car and swarm around us. The more we drove, the more of a nuisance they became. I could hear them flying around my ears, and they flew into my mouth and my eyes, and we were all pretty grossed out by the bugs, so my friend pulled the car over to the side of the road, and we all got out. Now this is where it gets really creepy. As soon as I closed the car door behind me, I heard a kitten mewing from somewhere nearby. I looked around and saw a tiny white cat in a bamboo grove just off the road. It was timid at first, but we got our snacks out and began tearing off pieces of bread and throwing them at the kitten's direction. After some hesitation, it got braver and slowly came closer to us, one step at a time. Once it stepped out of the shadows, we all gasped. It was missing its right ear, and blood had dried on its head. Its right eye was also damaged, and seeing the injuries made my heart ache. I wondered if a stray had attacked it, and I decided to give the cat the rest of our snacks in hopes of holding it over for a while. Once we had emptied the last of the package of bread we had brought with us, we got back into the car and continued our way up the mountain. Now it gets even creepier. Right before we started moving, I looked back at the kitten. It was eating the bread as quickly as it could, but two crows swooped down from the sky to attack it. I was unable to move, but my brother jumped out of the car and began shaking his jacket around at them. They grabbed some of the bread and flew off. My friend and I got out of the car to see what had happened, and the kitten was lying on the ground, blood-stained and its face and stomach scratched up. We sat by the cat as it breathed slowly, and finally stopped breathing altogether. We agreed that it would be best to bury it, and we brought it back to the bamboo grove it had come from. The entire time, we were giving an impromptu burial ceremony
The crows loomed overhead, calling for the dead kitten. Because crows will sometimes attack people, we hurried as much as we could before getting back into the car to go to the amusement park. When we arrived, we came up towards what seemed to be a former employee's entrance to the park. We looked around at our surroundings and went inside. We walked around for a while, but the worst we saw was just some shattered grass and a few condoms on the floor there. We took some pictures with our Polaroids, but nothing particular showed up. On our way back, things took a turn for the worse. We were passed by a haunted house attraction when we noticed a mannequin in a red dress that looked like it had been brought outside. It was lying on its back, facing to the right. The cicadas, which up until then had been extremely loud, suddenly all flew off at some signal none of us were aware of. We all screamed out loud and huddled together. Everything was silent once the cicadas left. It wasn't a natural silence, though. It somehow felt off, and I started to break out in a cold sweat. I looked at my friend and noticed that she was frozen in place, staring at a single spot without blinking. "Are you all right?" I asked. I was placing a hand on her shoulder. "That mannequin wasn't facing us a minute ago." Her voice was wavering, and I thought she might cry at any moment. She was talking about the mannequin that was now directly behind me. I felt goosebumps spring up on my skin. I turned around and saw the mannequin was now facing to the left, towards us. My friend let out a scream all of a sudden. I turned back to her. Drool was dripping out of her mouth. This is a clear sign of possession when you see something like this. And her fingers were moving in unnatural positions, as if doing so on their own. I froze in place, and my brother had the presence of mind to carry my friend on his back. He ran towards the exit, and I managed to follow after him a moment later. I hurried in front of him, making sure not to go too far away. I suddenly heard my brother yell out. I turned around and saw my friend choking him from behind. I screamed at her to stop. Tears were spilling out of my eyes, and I hit her with the back of my fist as hard as I could. She let out a moan, released hold on my brother's neck. He took the opportunity to begin running towards the exit again. She again took hold of his neck, and I began pounding on her back. We repeated the process several times before finally getting to the exit. My brother was on the verge of having a panic attack, and my friend was walking awkwardly back towards the entrance as if she wanted to go back into the park. I grabbed her arm to pull her back with all the strength I could muster. I expected her to come with me, but she pushed me down to the ground. My face landed in a pile of glass, but I was too scared to feel the pain. I looked up and saw the car keys peeking out from my friend's backpack. I told my brother to keep an eye on my friend and grabbed the keys to bring the car over. I ran back to the car, and on the front window was the cat we had buried earlier, covered in blood and dirt. My legs felt like they would give out from beneath me, and I had no choice but to stand there until I felt more stable. I heard a crow crying out from somewhere nearby. Did they dig it up? My brain couldn't make any reason for this. I still couldn't move. My trance was finally broken when I heard my brother screaming at me. "What the hell are you doing?" I looked over to see he was dragging my friend out of the park from a distance. I could just barely tell that his neck looked odd. It was darker than the rest of his skin. My friend was still moving unnaturally. The cat was still dead. And something inside of me snapped. I screamed out uncontrollably. I picked up the cat with my bare hands and threw it. I can still feel the sticky, wet, cold fur in my mind. We all somehow managed to get into the car, and I drove us down to the mountain. Dozens of crows crashed into the car as we sped down the winding road. The engine died 3 times, and other unexplainable things happened. Saying that I was scared would be an understatement. At the base of the mountain, I saw a shrine. I quickly pulled off the road and we made our way there. I screamed for help when I saw a girl who obviously worked there, and we continued running towards the gates. The girl looked at us with wide eyes and called out for the priest. When she saw the blood on my face, she became even more alarmed. My friend got out of the car and walked after us unsteadily. She reached the boundary of the shrine and stood there mumbling incoherently to herself. My brother and I each took one of her hands into our own and explained everything to the priest. "All right, I understand what you're saying," the priest said calmly, "but you need to get to the hospital. I'm going to try and speak to whatever took over your friend here." We quickly drove to the nearest hospital. My brother's neck was clearly marked with handprints from where my friend had been choking him. When we got to the front of the hospital, I passed out and lost track of all time. My brother filled me in on everything when I woke up. I had apparently lost a lot of blood, and he even donated some to match me on the spot because he was a perfect match to my own blood. I ended up needing stitches
Once they removed all the glass from my face, and the police were even called. The next day we returned to the shrine. The priest performed a cleansing ritual on each of us. Thankfully, the priest wasn't angry at us, though he did tell us that the situation was quite grave. My friend was sent to the hospital, and she didn't regain consciousness for a full week. Based on the priest's advice, my friend's parents agreed to abandon the car there in case it was also haunted. My brother's neck was fine in the long run, but he had fallen down at some point, and the damage was bad enough that he now walks with a limp. As for me, some of the glass had entered my eye. There was no way to remove all of it, and the doctors believe that I will go blind at some point in the future. This is a warning for anyone who goes to haunted places. Try and learn from my mistake. Well, obviously I didn't learn because I went and checked this place out, and to no surprise of my own, I myself encountered nothing. Nonetheless, this is a very creepy tale. Moving on to our next one, let's go blow out a candle.
And that is story number 4. Getting halfway through by tomorrow.
Now, one thing I get a lot of here on the show is a lot of cursed items, tapes, letters, and videos. So I've had multiple really strange videos sent to me before. Some come with a description and some don't. I'm about to tell you a story concerning one of these videos. But before I do, I'm just going to give you kind of a sample of some of the weird videos people send me. This is actually a case that wasn't given to me, but is known as the Persephone number station, and it is a case that has been explored by numerous supernatural investigators, and to this day we still have no idea what the meaning behind this video is. Just a girl talking as there's a face glitching out. Not really sure what this is supposed to be about. I just thought I'd add this one on here because if any of you users have any kind of insight onto this video or know anything about Persephone number station, please contact me, email me, let me know what the hell I'm looking at. Here's another one, weird music and everything. No idea what the hell is supposed to be going on here. There's a little bit of time code stamp on this, and that's about all I can make out. The rest is shapes and sort of odd objects that look vaguely human and avian, but I really don't get what's supposed to be happening. Shot of Tokyo. Another timestamp. It's like an 80s industrial video. Here's another one. No clue what's happening. No clue what's supposed to be going on here. It just says the cooking idol. That's the only description I got in this video. Weird. Fuck. What the fuck? one of these videos happens to be this one that I'm showing you right now. It is not playing, obviously, it is set to pause, but we are going to go ahead and watch it together. This person apparently was sent the video from an unknown email. After watching it, 8 months later, everybody in their family died. They went to a Shinto priest, who then told him that the video was indeed cursed and that they needed to show it to other people in order to break the curse for themselves. Hence, I am showing it to you now to break the curse for my own self and for better distribution of my movie, because you need to go show it to other people in order to break it for yourself. Let's watch together. Now, from what I can tell from what people are talking about in this video, it is an underground mining place where they're doing a sort of look-see and finding out if it's good for mining and setting up an underground tunnel as well. And apparently within intervals are pictures of this supernatural, creepy entity that I have to admit is really quite unsettling. Here it is. Listen, it starts to get really distorted, and then we start to see the images of this creepy, unknown, supernatural force. You can see it here. So the only things I can really make out on this video is that at the end it says Majide kawaii, kawaii na, and they're pretty much talking about how, wow, this is scary, this is really scary, but we're not able to see what they're looking at. On top of it, we see the imagery of this very creepy supernatural being. Even if that's not a supernatural being, the lighting and what this thing looks like is pretty creepy.
Scott, buddy, listen up. We gotta talk.
Hey, Unrested, why haven't you done a video on Smudgemouth yet?
Alright. I slaved over a mouse and keyboard so that I can make some nice promotional Smudgemouth material so that you can get to work on the Smudgemouth Creepypasta.
Scott, I heard you've been doing your Creepypasta thing at the moment. don't know if you've heard, there's this one thing called Smudgemouth. It's really scary, man. You've got to look at this story.
A couple of videos ago you mentioned an urban legend in Japan about a character called Smudgeface. It sounded really interesting.
What's up, Unrested? I'd like to ask you to do a creepypasta called Smudgemouth.
So last night, after I recorded that little video about all sorts of creepy stuff people have sent me via video and sound files, I was sent a bunch of pictures via email of Smudgemouth. Wow, looky here. Great pictures. Someone's really good with Photoshop. Oh, wow. Yeah, you've placed him inside my house. That's great. Good job. Guess what? I know how to use Photoshop too. I know how to do this kind of stuff.
Waiting for it. Nothing shows up. So now I gotta make this video.
It has grown very popular on the internet, and I think you have to cover it.
It's like the best Japanese creepypasta ever made, and you constantly ignore us whenever we ask you to do it.
Begging you, please. You know I love your channel.
It's about this Buddhist monk, and you've probably heard of it. It's just, yeah. I'd like you to do it, and I know many other people would like you to do it too, you know, when you're also watching Saturday or in a separate video. However you like, man, you know, yeah.
We've got all sorts of creepy pictures. I've got to say they're really well done though. I mean, this looks authentic, but obviously nobody was in my house last night. Aside from Kaidan, Kaisha, limited crew messing up everything in my house, nobody was here.
If you really, really want to stand out from all those other people doing those creepypastas, you know, you gotta do the Smudgemouth. I mean, nobody's done it.
Let's have the creepypasta.
I gotta say, someone put a lot of work into this though. These are pretty creepy. So good on you for that, as well as the videos that you sent me here. Let me see if I can get to those too. Of him inside my apartment. Yeah, great job. Yeah, I really like it. You did a great job. Guys, if you're gonna try and fuck with me, please try to use something beyond just the average things the average layman has, such as Photoshop, you know, Sony Acid, Sony Vegas Foundation, all different stuff like that. I know how to use that stuff too, guys. It's not a big deal. I know how you do this stuff, man. Obviously, he was not in my house last night, or I would have heard somebody come in and I didn't hear anything. Great job on the pictures, though. These guys are really freaky. You got everything about him right.
If you can, find a Smudgemouth story and do a creepypasta with that, man. It's so scary. You gotta do it, man. You just have to do it. I'm telling you, man.
So come on, man, where is it?
We've been hounding you for like weeks now, and you still haven't done or reviewed or even read it or even talked about it in any of your J-Pasta videos. You do all these cool stories, like, you know, you talk about the elevator games, and, you know, you talk about like doll ceremonies. This is like right up your alley, and you keep on ignoring it. I just don't understand it. It's such a cool concept for a story, and you just continually ignore it. Man, you know what? I'm starting to lose faith in you.
Nothing else really. Keep up the good work.
Okay, guys, enough. Sound files, videos, pictures, emails. I'm gonna get to the story. Smudgemouth will be told. Leave me alone until it actually happens, okay? You can't make it go any faster by harassing me with all sorts of multimedia. I know how to make the same damn things. I've investigated enough videos and enough pictures, enough sound files, knowing someone's just fucking with me, so stop. I don't know if I want to keep going through with these today. I'm not feeling good, guys. But, you know, do it because I gotta complete the document. This is called iwanttodie.com. Obviously a very, very modern creepypasta or urban legend. Just listen along as I read. This happened about 2 years ago. One night, that summer, my friend Yoshiki's girlfriend broke up with him because she was going to study abroad. I wanted to cheer him up, so I invited him and some friends over to drink at my place. The 6 of us ended up getting together, and we started drinking about 9 o'clock that night. "Hey, turn on the TV," said my friend Masato, around midnight. I handed him the remote, and we all settled in to see what was on. As expected, the channels he flipped through were the typical late-night TV shows. News shows, variety shows, and other things you'd expect to see at that time. But at some point, he paused on the screen. Something weird with static came on. "Hey, is your TV broken?" someone asked with a snicker. No, it shouldn't be," I said, confused. "You sure the signal didn't just get messed up?" Suddenly, the screen was filled with static. "You got a snowstorm going on here. This is pretty serious," laughed my friend. Until something weird appeared on the screen. Within the white and black fuzz on the screen, the words iwanttodie.com appeared. "What's that?" It was only there for a moment, but I know I saw it. The screen went back to what it had been before, but it was definitely there. Guys, what the fuck was that?" Yoshiki's eyes were fixed on the TV. It said iwanttodie.com on the screen, right? Shun sat back with his eyes wide. "Yeah, it definitely said that, and I'm officially creeped out," I said. Everyone else agreed. "I'm gonna go ahead and turn the TV off. This is just too weird for me," I said. I turned the TV off, but we kept talking about what we saw. "You mind if I look it up on your computer?" Yoshiki asked, getting up to grab my laptop. I told him go ahead, and he came back, and we kept talking about it. "Why would you want to look it up?" I asked. "Aren't you a little bit scared? And what if it was just sort of some weird mistake? We could be wrong. Maybe we just imagined it." Everyone saw it, so I don't think it's some sort of viral marketing or any kind of TV show or something. I want to check this out. He ignored all of our warnings and started searching anyway. He used all sorts of search engines to look for iwanttodie.com, but found nothing of use. We were all about ready to assume that it had been a mistake when somebody suggested something we should have thought of before. The words themselves were a website. He typed iwanttodie.com into the address bar. "Will you die with me?" The words appeared on the screen. They sent a chill down my spine. And a picture of a blood-covered woman almost sent me over the edge. "Shit, this can't be good," somebody said under their breath. "Close the fucking window already. I don't want to see that," Masato demanded. Yoshiki obliged, and then I turned off the computer. "Something that really didn't feel right has just happened," I whispered. "It was just some sort of viral marketing," Yoshiki insisted. Masato's fear came out as anger. He was ready to say something else when suddenly the TV came back on of its own volition. "Will you die with me?" The volume was uncomfortably high, and the same woman appeared on the screen. The moment my eyes met her, I lost consciousness. When I woke up, it was almost dawn, and everybody was still drinking. "What was that?" I said in a cold sweat. "Huh? You know what I'm talking about. Who was she?" Everyone looked at me confused as I started to panic. "Hey, what are you talking about? Are you still half asleep?" Masato tried to calm me down, but it only confused me more. "Huh?" Nobody seemed to know what I was talking about. I explained everything that had happened before I passed out, but nobody believed me. I think you were dreaming or something. I don't remember anything like that happening last night. A dream? That doesn't make any sense. I passed out all night? That's what you get for mixing your booze. Yoshiki rolled his eyes. I looked at everyone, but their expressions told me they thought I was lying. Even though the images were vivid in my head, I started to think that it was just a dream too. Just to be sure, I checked my computer's history, but there was no sign of iwanttodie.com anywhere. Our party didn't end until the afternoon, and everyone got ready to go and eventually left. While I was on my way to work, I got a call from Yoshiki. Hey, can I ask you something about last night? He sounded tense. Yeah, sure, what's up? I didn't have any idea what he was getting at. You know, never mind, it's nothing. Sorry to bother you. He hung up. Before I got the chance to get another word out, the phone was dead. I tried calling him back, but it went straight to voicemail. He must have turned his phone off. I didn't see him again after that. I didn't hear from him either. None of our friends did. He just disappeared. He just needs to be on his own, you know? That's what they told me. He broke up with his girlfriend. Give him some time, give him some space. I don't believe that, though. After Yoshiki went missing, I looked up iwanttodie.com several times. No matter how many times I tried, I could never find it. I watched late night TV again, but the message never appeared again. All of my friends said I was delusional and refused to help me. A year passed, and I happened to run into Yoshiki's ex-girlfriend. She said that a few days ago, after they broke up, she got a call from him. He called my dorm phone. I wasn't really wanting to talk that much, but since he was paying to call Canada, I thought it might be important. But it seemed weird. He asked me, "Will you die with me?" What? I couldn't believe it. As far as I had known, none of my friends had seen or spoken anything about that site since he had broken up with her. I think he was drunk or something. It was weird, but I sort of ignored a lot of what he said up until he brought you up. She looked into my eyes sadly. He told me to tell you I'm all right. Everything is fine, so don't worry about me. To this day, Yoshiki is still missing. I can't help but think what he asked her isn't a coincidence. I really want to know what happened to him. But even though it's been 2 years since then, my friends still insist that it was just a dream. They've even gone so far as to essentially ban me from talking about it. And I don't know why. Now, I myself have actually looked up this website. I could not find it. There was no iwanttodie.com. If it does exist, it's somewhere within the deep web. If any of you, the viewers, have ever found it, a URL or anything like that, please contact me and let me know. It sounds very interesting.
So again, I had another creepy dream after showing you this footage, and I went ahead and logged it, and I put it on Saya and Underground's blog just to let her know about the dreams that I'm having. It's something that I just write down as soon as I have it. I put it on my phone, then I email it to myself. I put it up on the blog so I can read it again the next day, because I really am recounting it almost as a person who didn't have it. It's something that I'm remembering just from the text I wrote as soon as I woke up. So here's what I wrote. I had a nightmare. In the dream, someone was trying to strangle me. The face of the attacker was blurred as though it was shrouded in mist, so I couldn't tell who it was. I tried desperately to shake him off. I gripped his wrist, but it was no use. I only felt my consciousness slowly leaving me. I woke up and completely lost consciousness in the dream. Inadvertently, I felt for my neck. Copious sweat was teeming down my entire body. If I find some handprints on my neck, this will turn into a piece of a ghost story. I thought as I went off to the bathroom to take off my clothes, and the moment I looked in the mirror, I froze. There were no handprints on my neck. So luckily, I hadn't actually been strangled, but I felt as though I was going to have like purple, black, and blue strangle marks. I had been choked so hard in the dream. It was really creepy. So for the following segment, I'm not even going to show my face. I'm just going to merely record my voice in order to make this full story nothing but recorded voices for you. See, I'm about to do a little segment here on EVP. And if you don't know what EVP is, pretty much it's voices from beyond the grave. It's ghosts speaking to those in the mortal world, and that's what some of these following clips are. But first, let me just go ahead and start by giving you a little sample of some of the stuff people have sent me, which includes one that's pretty disturbing because they're pretending to be Smudgemouth in one of these.
Just keep dying here. We keep...
So there you go, a list of some of the creepiest stuff people have ever sent me. But the next one I'm going to show you is one I actually investigated myself, and after you listen to it, I'll tell you a little bit about the source. Now, the creepiest aspect of this voice was the fact that it was recorded at Himuro Mansion, which, if some of you may know, is from a horror survival game here in Japan known as Fatal Frame or Project Zero, a game in which people record ghosts on camera and then try to defeat them by sucking their souls into the camera. So this had a pretty dark background to begin with. It also had to do with the princess bindings, which many of you probably don't know a lot about, but a long time ago, we're talking even before Edo era Japan, there used to be kind of a ritual to keep demons out, and it was done by choosing a woman who was supposed to be a quote-unquote princess of demons. She was raised in a way in which she spoke and saw no one. She was even blindfolded when maids and helping hands would come into the room. She was raised in this way to keep her 100% pure, and when she reached adulthood, which in Japan is considered 20 years old, she was tied up in ropes and binded so tight that her blood was literally squeezed from her and placed across entrances, thresholds, and bridges which they did not want demons to pass. A very dark past and ritual within Japan. This story is a simple one. Another sort of haunted house story. Hotel Nagasaki, that is the name of the story. It concerns a hotel one of my friends stayed at, and this is what happened. You see, when most people think of nuclear bombs here in Japan, they think of Hiroshima. They don't think of Nagasaki, but Nagasaki was where another bomb was dropped, where thousands suffered and died because of a nuclear bomb. And when he stayed at a hotel in Nagasaki, simply called Hotel Nagasaki, it was a very old school hotel. In Japanese, we call it ryokan, which means Japanese style. You still have the tatami mats, you still have the shoji doors, you have the onsen to take a hot spring bath in. Well, that night when he spent the night in his room, he woke up to screams and cries and wailing and suffering. But it was coming from outside of his door. He quickly ran to his door and locked it, and he was pounding on his door. "Let us out, let us out, let us out," they kept saying over and over and over. "Let us out, we're burning in here, this room is burning." Apparently a bomb had been dropped exactly where he had been staying and burned everyone inside. Radiated, full of heat, their skin melting and bubbling. They were suffering, they were dying. They craved nothing more to get out, feel, touch. Okay, one more story before we get near the end here. It's called The Baby Room. Baby Room. Great story about my friend who owned a house, rented it. Every night when he would go to sleep, here's the things he would experience. Number one, he would hear the crying of a baby over and over again, wailing as though it were in pain. Number two, he would smell blood. That copper-type irony smell of blood. Now this continued on and on every night, and he tried to just ignore it until one night, the creepiest thing ever happened. He felt the soft pitter-patter of small feet and small hands crawling on his chest as he lay in bed. He did his best to stay asleep, keep his eyes closed, until he finally heard that baby wailing right in front of his face, like here. When he opened his eyes, he saw nothing more than the ghostly head of a decapitated baby wailing and crying and screaming. He decided to finally have a Shinto priest come in and do an exorcism on the house, and while investigating everything and blessing every aspect of the house, he found a back panel in a shoji door closet. Those are those paper doors that you see here in Japan. When he removed it, he found his house had once had a hidden abortion room for an unknown doctor in an unknown unlisted clinic. He subsequently had the room filled with cement, continued to
hear the sounds, continued to smell the smells, and moved out. That is the tale of the baby room. What's up, everybody? We are here at Monanji Temple. Monanji Temple is the origin place of Inigawa Junji, the man behind Smudgemouth. That's right, this was the temple that he started at with his Bunraku Theater. It's also home to a very creepy little doll known as the Okiku doll, and I'm going to read you a little story about the Okiku doll. The Okiku doll can be found at Monanji Temple. Oh, surprise, that's where we are right now. It started in Hokkaido Prefecture, but made its way down to Tennoji here, where we are at right now. When the doll first appeared in this temple, it had cropped hair, but over the years, the hair has grown to a whopping 25 centimeters long. It's grown 10 inches exactly and is annually trimmed so that it doesn't cover the entire temple. That's amazing. The legend goes that a teenage boy bought the doll for his 2-year-old sister, Okiku. Okiku loved the dolls. She played with it every day, dressed it up, spoke to it, and tragically died. Their friendship was short-lived, and the girl died at a very young age. Her family refused to get rid of the doll, and after some time they noticed its hair was growing, so they concluded the spirit of their daughter resided within the doll. In 1938, they made the executive decision to travel to this temple here and donate the doll. Now, it is in a room which we cannot actually enter because it is kind of cornered off to anyone who is not above layman status, and since we are not holy monks, we're going to just go ahead and give you a little bit of a tour right through here. So, you may notice some of the places that I've talked about in my stories before, and a lot of these are the different grounds in which Inigawa actually practiced his trade. He spent most of his time actually back here, which is actually sectioned off now, cobbling and putting together his different types of dolls. No longer does that anymore, obviously, because he is merely legend, and let's hope he's not real, or he'll come for me and you just for me reading this story. Apparently, his spirit is a vengeful one that comes for anyone who does not respect Shinto or Buddhist beliefs. So, while we're here, we're going to try and be as respectful as we can, but of course, I am still going to tell this story no matter if it's supposedly something I'm not supposed to tell or tell. I'm still going to do that because, let's be honest, that's my career, that's my job. If you take a look back here, you can go ahead and get a full view of the place. And let's go ahead and just have a whole look around the grounds. Come with me and I'll take you through what we have. This is an area right here where votives are tied. People can make prayers to their gods, whether it be Abisu, the god of business, or maybe the god of birth, or Shiva, the destroyer. You can tie all different types of things here and pray to any kind of Shinto god or monkey/elephant-faced god that you would like to. Of course, I myself respect all the different types, but I'm not a practicing Buddhist or Shintoist. Let's go ahead and take a look back here through the red gates. Nonetheless, this is totally safe to walk through, and it is asked that you go through these gates in order to make a prayer in the small little shrine back here. That's the temple. This is the shrine that we're going to right now. Now, each year during Oban, usually you'll see lanterns tied all across here, and those lanterns are to honor the dead. Usually Oban is a time when people will go to the grave sites of their ancestors and clean their graves in order to pay respect to them. Usually during that time, you will see different lanterns posted up here. We do not have those here today, but we do have a little Shinto shrine. We're going to go ahead and pay our respects to that so that hopefully Junji Inagawa Smudgemouth does not come for us. Let's try to get a good shot of this. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and just say a little prayer. See if I have some change here that I can go ahead and donate to Inogawa's cause, and hopefully that stops him from coming for me. There we go. 5 yen. Supposed to be lucky. Got the hole through it, so it's supposed to be lucky. There we go. Perfect. All right. I think you've seen enough. Let's head on out.
Okay, guys, final story. The story of Smudgemouth. Now, this is one I've been researching, looking into, and putting file after file away for a very long time, and it's kind of one that's been bugging me the whole time I've been making this series and trying to get this documentary done, so I'm very glad to put it to rest. Smudgemouth. It all starts with a monk whose name was Junji Inagawa. Now, Junji Inagawa was a famous Edo-era monk who used to make dolls, and those dolls were used in what was called Bunraku Theater. Bunraku Theater was a series of plays that were put on using only dolls. They were just merely human puppeteers who would dance the dolls around, make them speak, make them move, and do the voices for them. And this is what he did. He not only made the dolls, but he also displayed them and put on plays. Now, the reason for him doing this was because all the shrines and temples in his area were always putting on these plays each year in order to raise money for a very, very small town they were part of called Inunaki. Now, Inunaki was a very small village. It had no agriculture to speak of due to it being on the sandy side, beach-type shoreline of Japan. They could not grow a lot of agriculture there, so instead, how they made their money was by supporting the local shrines and temples, who would then in turn put on plays via Bunraku Theater and all other different types of stage plays, teaching the locals about different types of Confucian teachings, different Buddhist morals, and Shinto religious teachings. And they would do this all via plays. This was Junji Inagawa's job as well. Now, he was great with what he did, and in fact, each year, to find out who was the greatest at putting on their little plays or little displays, they would have a friendly competition between the shrines and the temples, and they would try to see who could earn the most money for the very small town of Inunaki and bring in the most profit for that year. So it started out as a pretty fair battle, each one having their own talents, until Junji Inagawa came to their little town and began his craft. Now, he was so good at what he did that every year he would win out every single contest to see who would earn the most money. Children, adults, and even neighboring villages loved to come and see his shows. His dolls were so lifelike and so well crafted, and his acting and voicing for all these different puppets was amazing. Everyone from far and wide even came. It's even said that the great Nobunaga, a very famous shogun, stopped by one time when his caravan was traveling as they had the event. Now, unfortunately, this would lead to Inagawa's downfall. Kind of a sad story, really. The fellow holy men, as we will call them in this, monks and priests of other temples and shrines that were in competition with him, eventually started to realize they themselves were losing funds due to the fact that Inagawa's puppeteer shows were doing so well. All the donations, almost 100%, were going to his shrine. The rest were getting left in the dust. So, as jealous men often do, they conspired to spell out Inagawa's doom. And the way they did this was via an event that happened every year. It was called the Ningyo Matsuri. Now, Ningyo Matsuri is Japanese for the Doll Burning Festival. And each year they would gather up dolls and have a giant bonfire for them. Now, you're probably wondering, why the heck would you just gather a bunch of dolls and burn them up? Well, in Japan, puppets, dolls, and anything that is toy-like and in a human form is said to have a soul the same as a human. Throwing it in the garbage? No thank you. Can't do that. Not here, not in Japan. So, to properly dispose of dolls each year, and this still happens today in modern-day Japan, a great bonfire is started. And well-crafted dolls that have reached the end of their life, and puppets alike, are thrown into the fire to burn away that physical shell so that that soul can reach the same nirvana as the Buddhist and Shinto priests. So, this would be used against the doll master himself. They asked Inagawa that year if he would be honored to have the Ningyo Matsuri bonfire in the front yard, the front garden of his temple. He was very, very grateful to have this because he had the utmost respect for not only his craft, but every doll involved in any sort of bunraku theater. So he said, yes, of course, have it here. They started the fire and let it burn late into the night, and everything went as it should. Unfortunately, when Inagawa retired to his living quarters for the night, they used an accelerant to allow the fire to spread to his living quarters. Now, it is said that they believed he would just burn in his sleep and have a painless death, but that is not what happened. For the next day, when the town folk saw the smoking, smoldering husk that was once Inagawa's temple, billowing smoke up into the sky, they came running, and what they found was horrifying. His entire temple leveled to the ground, and his body, a black, smoking, charred shell of a man, was all that was left. Yet he was still alive, moaning, suffering, in great pain. They asked him what he needed. Did they need to bring him water? Was there some sort of medical assistance they could give him? Inagawa shooed everyone away and asked for only one thing. In a rough voice, wheezing and rasping, full of ashes and smoke, he said, "Bring me my tools." And by that he meant bring the crafting tools, the cobbling tools, the spools of thread that helped him make his dolls. Now, the town folk just believed he wanted this stuff in order to go ahead and allow himself to die honorably amongst his trade. And so they honored his wishes, as anyone would do in the moments of a man's last breath. They brought him his stuff and left him alone as he had asked. They came back a day later to be ready to bury his burnt body, but found he and his tools were gone. Now, for months and months, everyone seemed to forget about Inagawa. When the other priests and monks were asked about him, they figured he probably wandered off into the forest to die by himself because he was a selfless man who wouldn't even want to trouble anyone with burying his body. And oftentimes in very old ages of Japan, the dying, the sick, and the wounded would often crawl off to what were called death caves, or forest spots that were considered death spots, to die off and not cause the village any suffering and pain in watching them die. Very selfless act. Had Inagawa done this? Well, we may never know, but the following months, priests were beginning to be murdered in the middle of the night. Priests of the opposing temples that had once been in contest with Inagawa. Now, it is said when they were murdered, they were found with their eyes and their mouth sewn shut with the spool and thread and the needle that Inagawa once used to make dolls. Those who had seen someone or something that had come in the night said it looked somewhat human in form as far as arms and legs, but the face was a mess. A malformed sort of concoction of human skin and cloth and sewing and God knows what. Lopsided, partially dilapidated, rotting with maggots, yet on the other side smelling of bloody, musty cloth. What was the creature that was coming for them? What was that thing that came for them? is Chima Mire Gucci. Now, if we were to literally translate that, that would be the blood-stained mouth. But in modern-day Japan, we call it Smudgemouth. Why Smudgemouth? Well, let me explain the creation of this monster that was once Inagawa. You see, after his body was ferociously burnt by the fires of malice, he sewed everything back up. But not just with human flesh, doll parts. He was an amalgamation of cobbled together wood, sewing needles, cloth, and the inks and dyes he would use to paint on the faces of his dolls. He in turn used to paint on his own face to recreate a new creation, something beyond man, something that could live for hundreds and hundreds of years, stealing parts from the people he killed, from the cloth of their clothing, from their flesh, or any little bits of tools that would work well to make new doll parts. He was a Frankenstein-type monster, one made of part human and doll parts. His face, well, over time it did deteriorate, and to this day they say he's horribly deformed from his once beautiful doll-like features that he had sewn on. Now he is mere rotting flesh sewn together with drooping and sagging cloth parts muddied by the blood of his victims. His goal? Well, starting back with the Edo era and pushing into this modern age as he has lived hundreds of years sewing on new body parts inside and outside, covering up patches that have fallen off or rotted away. What are his goals? What is his motivation to continue? Well, I'll tell you what it is. To kill the heathens, those that would do things that were unorthodox, that would displease the Shinto shrines or the Buddhist temples, that would break rituals, that would disrespect ceremonies. That's who he comes for. Just as his fellow monks and people of the cloth disrespected him, in his goal to do nothing more than give his people faith and money, he now comes for souls who would do the opposite. And if you disrespect any of the rituals you've been told or any of the stories you've heard tonight, he will come for you. That is number 10. I am so glad to be finished with this. Number 10, blown the fuck out. Good God. I can't tell you how happy I am to have this documentary totally and utterly completed. And none of you motherfuckers stop me. None of your little Smudgemouth emails and voice files and videos and harassment stop me from finishing the story. And now what I'm... What's that? Hold on. I think Kaida and Kaisha finally came back to get one of their videos. Guys? Yeah, you're a little too fucking late. I already finished. I don't know what the fuck I just saw in the other room. It wasn't fucking cool, man. Listen, Kaida and Kaisha, if this is your way of getting back at me by pranking me or fucking punking me with some sort of dude in a mask, not fucking cool, man. I don't like it. Fuck, man. I'm recording this right now, because if these motherfuckers are gonna try something, I'm gonna punch the fuck out of somebody's face until I break their fucking skull, man. Fuck this, man. I'm pretty sure those motherfuckers from Kaidon Kaisha Limited are trying to break into my fucking house right now. Or trying to do some shit where they fucking punk me or prank me with some dude wearing a mask. Because I just saw a freaky motherfucker looking in through my window with some kind of crazy ass face. And it wasn't a real face. It was some kind of fake fucking retarded silicone mask or some shit like that. Listen, if this is you, Kaidon Kaisha, haha, funny, you got me. Go away for a few days and then come back and scare me with the fucking pranks. Not fucking funny, because I'm gonna punch someone's fucking skull in. Just stay here.
Here it fucking comes. Let's get the fuck out of here. We gotta go. Holy shit. Holy fucking shit, man. Oh fuck. Oh shit. Oh, what the fuck, man? I just saw it take off its fucking mask and it didn't have a fucking face. Holy fucking. Shit. It didn't have a fucking face, man. It didn't have a fucking face, man.
who the fuck is fucking with me right now. Who's trying to prank me. But it's not fucking cool, man. I just fucking burnt myself on a stage light running fucking through my house like an ass. I'm keeping the camera with me the whole time. We didn't document this fucking bullshit so we can sue the fuck off these guys. Get all the money back I wasted on this fucking documentary, man. Fuck this shit. I'm not putting up with this shit anymore. What the fuck is that, man? Who's wearing the fucking mask, man? Take that fucking mask. Fuck this, man. Fuck this.
So a vaguely popular YouTuber by the name of Unrested has, a while ago, stopped making videos.
Where is Unrested?
Hey guys, I don't know if you noticed, but yeah, Scott Unrested, he seems to have done a runner.
I go to Unrested's channel and there hasn't been a post.
Has anyone heard from Scott?
This is kind of a search and rescue operation. If you guys know Scott from the Unrested channel, he's been working on a movie, something about Smudgemouth. I mean, I admit I don't know much about it, but I had talked to him a little bit about it, earlier in the summer, and he said some of the research that he was doing was real shady and kind of dangerous.
I'm hoping you didn't give up on your fans, because I know your fans are your number one thing.
We don't know where he is. He hasn't uploaded anything on Facebook.
Like, he has just disappeared from the radar,
I think ever since I sent him that video, it's been a while since I've heard from him.
So, I know he promised he was going to make this Smudgemouth documentary, apparently, what he said he was. And he seems to have done a runner on everyone.
If you get this, could you post something, like a video or tweet, anything like that, to let us know you're okay?
He hasn't uploaded anything on his Unrested Facebook or his personal Facebook. And it's kind of freaking a lot of us out. We don't know where he went.
if we upset you in any way, Scott, us fans, we're sorry.
A couple other J vloggers tried to get a hold of him, and nobody can reach him. So if anybody hears anything, send one of us a note and let us know what's going on.
Yeah, or maybe Smudgemouth got you, yeah? Yeah, good one, Ray. Nice one.
And we hope everything's okay with Scott. And Scott, if you see this, drop us a line. Let us know what's going on, man.
Please, can anyone tell me where he is? If they've seen him? Anything at all? Anything?